right, so looks like we're integrity and running. So for those of you that were here earlier, welcome back. For anybody who wasn't in the earlier session, glad to have you and welcome. How many of you were here? I think most of you were. Anybody not here the first session? Okay, just a couple. We did a collaboration session a minute ago.
I think you're good. I'm
okay.
Downstairs.
All right, cool. All right, so again, my name's Alyssa Sells. I'm doing this for the benefit of the recording. Anybody that might listen in later, most of you had my introduction already. So Alyssa Sells from the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, and I'm the e-learning program administrator for the State Board, and basically, this is my job. I go and train people how to use Canvas and different tools that the state supports. So welcome, and today, right now, we're going to talk about page design in Canvas. So I'm going to give you a little art lesson first before we dive into Canvas. What you may not know about me is that formerly, in my previous life, I was an interior designer, and I've been reborn as the e-learning program administrator. So I bring a lot of what I do in e-learning from my design background. And I found it interesting when I made the transition from design to e-learning. And I started that transition by designing an online course for teaching design, interior design online, when I worked at Bellevue College. And I found that a lot of the things that I knew about designing a room, I could apply to designing a page in Canvas. So what you're going to get today, basically, is a similar presentation to what I would give my interior design students when we talked about the principles and elements of design, but I've adapted it to what you could use for page design. And if some of it's over your head, it's all right. It's okay. A lot of the stuff that we'll talk about today, like balance and using color, some of that is stuff you've been doing since kindergarten. You just might not have pinned a specific design language for it, because as we know, each discipline has its own language, and design is no different from that. So I'm going to teach it to you hopefully in a way that is user-friendly and gives you some tools to apply to some stuff that you're doing in Canvas using other things like PowerPoint that you already know how to use. So I do not have any web design training at all. Everything I know about page design came from fussing around in different LMS systems. Canvas is my third or fourth LMS, so I've worked in quite a few of them. So pretty much everything I know comes from my interior design roots and just basically from fussing around trying to figure out how to do stuff. So if you're feeling like, oh no, I don't know Photoshop, or oh no, I don't know how to do any of this, it's okay, I don't know any of that stuff either. I'm just going to share what I have come up with as my process. If my process and my stuff works for you, great. If it doesn't and you have another tool that you like to use or something that you know better, use that instead, it's fine. Okay, so to get going, let me show you our classroom real quick, because just like with our Google Collaborations classroom, I have a classroom set up for this presentation, and hopefully you're all registered into that now. And you can either click this slide here, or you can click on the modules tool, and it will take you right in here. And here under PowerPoints, you can download my actual PowerPoint. This time it is not a Google Slides presentation, because Google Slides, the slideshows there, don't have as robust of features as I needed for the designer stuff that I needed to do and show you. So we're going to be working in PowerPoint rather than Google. I have this set up a couple different ways just for your own course design, so you can get an idea of different ways this can be done. This is the actual PowerPoint. It's a file that you could have a student download. This one, as it's labeled, says it's set for an auto inline preview. So I'm just going to click here. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to auto open, but basically in Canvas you can set a document link in a page to auto open, and what it does, and here this was actually really fast, it will generate a preview of that document right here in the page for the student. So this is all the same presentation, it's just a different way to look at the same information. So that's there, and then I also have it put into a page as an embedded SlideShare. So I took my PowerPoint, took it to slideshare.com. I don't know if you've ever been there, but you can share stuff out and it will generate embed code for you and a URL you can share with people. and see if it works. Should pop up. Hasn't been working in Firefox. Can you guys see it on yours? It didn't work the last time I tried it. The Firefox 23 version that's out sometimes doesn't auto-open stuff. You shouldn't have to click here. It should have been embedded in the page. But basically, it takes this from SlideShare. You get your embed code here, and you embed it in the page using the HTML editor. We can try opening it again in a minute in Chrome and see if it. Did you get yours? Okay, so I don't know why it's not opening for me, but it opened for some of you. Okay, so you should just see it right there in the page, and then the student can click through it. Let me just tell you about using SlideShare like that, or setting something for an auto inline preview. If you have masses, like a whole bunch of stuff, like if you have a presentation that's like 40 pages long, instead of building an individual Canvas page to cover each one of those topics, because your module was going to get 40 or 50 lines long, right? If you put it into a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF file and put it into the page like that, the student can click through it there, and it's just on one little page. You don't have to muck up an entire module with those individual pages. Yeah.
The SlideShare, so 2 questions. How easy is it? Is that a good alternative for students turning in a PowerPoint, where you're having to deal with sometimes the upload issues of the file size?
It was so easy. I figured it out in about 5 minutes, and I'd never ever used it before. To go back and tell you how to do it, I don't remember because I've only ever done it once. But it was really super easy.
And so with that, do you think that's a better option than if students are turning in PowerPoints for them to do it that way, so you're not having to fill up your classroom quota?
Well, okay, so Canvas doesn't have a classroom quota. Canvas is unlimited. Like every Canvas classroom, I think the default is 500 megabytes, but Jackie can change it to whatever. Your Canvas classroom can be as big.
With, like, upload issues,
yeah.
It's like 30 megabytes and it times out on them.
Yeah, we had problems with that in Angel. But Canvas shouldn't have that because there aren't limits on the size of the Canvas classroom. But yeah, you could do SlideShare because then, you know how last time I showed you how to submit a URL? They could take the URL and put it into the SpeedGrader for you. So yeah, it's another way to do it. The advantage of having them put their PowerPoint right into the SpeedGrader would be that then you can use Crocodoc and make comments on their document if you wanted to. Whereas SlideShare, you won't have any commenting tools. You'd just be able to look at it, and you'd have to use your rubric in Canvas or some other way to make comments. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let us go back to our module here. And I have a Tegrity recording in here already of another presentation I did. I do believe that the last 40 minutes of the audio is missing on this because my microphone that we were playing with earlier came unplugged mid-presentation. We plugged it back in, but it didn't reinitialize even though it looked like it was working. But I'll replace this one recording that's in here with the recording that we're doing right now. I'm going to show you some page design examples, and I've given you those here. You can come back and look at these. I'm not going to show them to you now because it will spoil the effect for later. Okay. And then I gave you a helpful resources area in here. There's some Canvas editing. There's quite a few things you can do with the content editor in Canvas, so look at all these links that are in here. Again, familiarize yourself with the Canvas guides, guides.instructure.com. You go there, you can look up just about anything. The only thing I would caution you on is you need to look it up in the language that Canvas uses. Otherwise, it doesn't always find stuff. So if it doesn't come up, change your way of phrasing it and see if you can pull it up a different way. All right, let's see what else was in there. We're not going to talk about accessibility today, but it is important, and it's going to be kind of a statewide initiative going forward from this point. We're just getting our feet wet into that, but if you're interested in building something that is more accessible for students who have different abilities, there are some guidelines in here that you can follow. And please feel free to go and investigate those on your own. And this one is from my last presentation, and Kate's not here, so I'm going to delete her notes. Okay, any questions before we get going? Yeah?
SlideShare, you made that on slideshare.net or .com?
Let's see, was it .com? SlideShare, oh, slideshare.net. I didn't make it there. I shared it there. I made it in PowerPoint, shared it to my SlideShare account. I had to create an account. And then from there, it's just like uploading something to YouTube. You can get the URL for it, or the embed code. It's slideshare.net, and then this is into my account here. Alrighty.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Did I need to be enrolled in this class like the previous one?
Yes, sir. If you want access to these materials, let's take care of that real quick. Most of us, we got in here. Okay, what's your email address? Okay. All right.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. You should have the invitation pop up shortly. Okay. We're not actually going to do much in our classroom today. I just wanted to show you that those resources were there for you. And I'm going to go actually to my actual PowerPoint, and I'm going to go into the presentation from here. So I call this Design It because that's basically what we're talking about. I did struggle a little bit with this when I was trying to put this together because I had to think of a way to demonstrate examples to you that were not how I was used to thinking about things, because I think 3D rooms. So you ask me to show you something about design, I can pop a room image to you in 2 seconds flat. Ask me to do it for page design, and I go, yeah, how am I going to do that? So there are no interior design pictures in here. You'll see, I'll explain when we get there what I came up with as my alternate to using pictures of interiors. All right, so 2 super important words we need to know when we talk about design. And this applies to any design. This doesn't apply just to page design or interior design. It also applies to product design or whatever you want to apply it to. Function and aesthetics. Function is how something works. Okay, it's how it functions. Aesthetics is the beauty or the appeal of the eye. It's how it looks. Okay, and I will tell you that a quality design requires some of both. It needs a balance of both. Because if it looks great but doesn't actually do what you need it to do, it's not 2 thumbs up design. And if it only does what you need it to do, but it doesn't look nice and it doesn't invite your viewer in and make people want to participate, again, it's not 2 thumbs up design. So we need to balance those things. So it needs to put this into page design terms. You need to deliver the content you need to deliver, but you need to deliver it in a way that the student wants to look at it. It needs to be visually appealing. Make sense? Okay. I'm sorry, I really hate talking behind the podium, but I have to stand here to click my slides, so. All right, so we are going to talk about some of the principles and elements of design. And again, this is an adapted presentation. There are actually more principles and elements than what we're going to talk about. I just took the ones that applied most to page design. So let me explain to you what principles and elements are. The principles of design are our guiding rules or our theory of design. They explain how and why certain relationships of the elements of design work together or don't work together. Okay? We can think about those as a recipe, like some rules or a process that we can follow. Our elements of design are our physical, tangible expressions of design. They are the things that we can manipulate to achieve the principles of design. So they're the working parts. And they're things that we can change a color. So color is an element. We can change a color to achieve something that falls under a principle, and you don't know what the principles are yet, so I'm just going to leave it there. We can think about our elements as ingredients. Change the ingredients, and you get a different outcome. If you're following a recipe for peach pie, and you alter your ingredients or your elements, and you put, what would you put in instead of peaches? Let's make an apple pie or a rhubarb pie. Is it still pie? Yes, but it's different pie. Is it better pie? Well, I don't know. That's the cool thing about design. You know it after you try it and you see. So a lot about design is experimenting. So you'll know if it's not so good. Yeah, one taste and you'll know. So one look at your page and you'll know if it's not so good. Okay, does that difference make sense? All right. Okay, so our first principle is scale. And you will see that my design is littered with A's. A is open source. Anybody can use A. I don't have to get permission for images. And it's the first letter of my first name, Alyssa. So it's kind of near and dear to my heart. And I had to find a way to communicate to you design information without using interiors. So I chose text because we're going to be dealing with pages on a screen with text. So that's how I got to using A's. So when you see that every single page of my design presentation has A's on it, that's why. All right, so scale has to do with visual weight. It's how heavy something looks. And you can see that there's different sizes here. So we have small a medium-sized A, and a large A. So we can talk about small scale, we can talk about human scale, we can talk about grand scale. Grand scale is going to be really super big. To put this in perspective for you, you'd need like a giant A the size of a building. That would be grand scale compared to us. Okay, on a page, grand scale is probably 100-point font or more. Okay, we can also manipulate scale by manipulating an element of design. I mentioned this one earlier, color. If you look at these two A's here, do they look a little different to you? One's a light blue and one's red. Which one pops out from the page more? Red. Okay, warm colors pop out to us. Cool colors recede. Does the red A look slightly bigger and heavier? Yeah? Okay, it's not. It's the same exact size as the one right next to it. It's the color. So manipulating our ingredients affects the outcome of our principle or our recipe. Okay, the next one is proportion. And scale and proportion are like this. They're best friends. They're interdependent. So I'll tell you what that means in just a second. Okay, here's a couple different graphics to understand about proportion. Proportion is about pleasing size relationships. It's sometimes even translated to us as mathematical ratios. So A to A, comparing a part to a part, okay? So it's an evaluation based on ratios or a size comparison. We can also look at it in terms of a pie and take one piece of our pie and compare it to the other pieces. So we have a pie graph here divided into quarters. So we can talk about the white portion as 1/4, or we can talk about the gray portion as 3/4. It's parts of a whole. So we're making these size comparisons. Another something you might be familiar with is called the golden mean. Have you ever heard that term? Okay. So this is a demonstration of the golden mean. It's a division of two unequal but harmonious parts that look very pleasing to us. Even the dimensions of the rectangle itself can be based on a golden rectangle. And what we think about here is there's this whole, the Fibonacci sequence. Have you guys heard of that? 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and the sequence just goes on mathematically. Okay, so you can use that to build room sizes. Okay, I'm going back to interior design for a second. That are a pleasing proportion, supposed to be able to lay out furniture in them more easily because a pleasing proportion already exists. You can do this with your page design also. So don't ever really divide anything right in half. A more pleasing division of space on your page is to use 1/2 to 1/3 with this other relationship to the 2/3 here. We are actually genetically in tune with this particular ratio. There was a study done, and I apologize, I never remember the name of the study. I should look it up and remember it. They gave a whole room full of people pictures of rectangles to look at and asked them to pick the one that they liked the best or thought that was the most pleasing. And most of them selected the one that was based on this division, this golden mean, or the golden rectangle. So just another way you might hear proportion talked about. Okay, and then the last slide here is when I was telling you that they're interdependent, scale and proportion. If it's out of scale, it's probably also out of proportion. So what do you notice about my name? Does it look a little wonky to you? Okay. I could have done this on purpose though, because maybe I want to communicate that my nickname is Lissa, and my nickname actually is Lissa. So maybe I did want to communicate that to you. I don't know. Okay, but I would say here, what's that first letter? It's uppercase, right? But as far as the relationship goes in the sizes, is it the right size of an uppercase letter to go with the size of the rest of my text? No, so it looks off. So I would say that this is out of proportion. It's also out of scale. But if I was trying to creatively communicate something to you, I could manipulate this and do this on purpose. So it doesn't, just because it's off doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It's just something you need to be aware of. All right, rhythm. Rhythm is an organized movement, and there's different types of rhythm. We have a repetitive rhythm that repeats the same element over and over and over and over. This happens just to be a string of A's, okay? So A, 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 A. Could it be B's? Sure. It has to just be the same element repeating over and over. If we were going to apply it to this room, the rhythm of the repetition of the computers, okay, that creates rhythm in this room. So you can create rhythm on your page by repeating elements over and over. That doesn't mean you're going to repeat the letter A over and over. You're going to find something that sucks the student in, like maybe like a color that repeats, so that they know every time they see that color or every time they see a certain symbol or whatever it is, gives rhythm through the course. They know what to expect. It helps your students navigate and understand. Okay, the next one is alternation. You guys have been doing A-B patterns since kindergarten, A-B, A-B, A-B. Okay, so that alternates it in just black text. The next one over goes back to my original series of A's, but I switched the color. That is still an A-B pattern, even though it's not A and B, because it's black A, red A, black A, red A. And then the last one is progression. And progression talks to us about size, and it is an expected increase in size, so it's when something goes from small to large, or large to small, and you can look at it and guess what that next step is going to be. Okay. All right, balance. Two types of balance. There's actually one more, radial balance, but we're not going to talk about that because most of us don't have pages with circular text. It's really hard to read circular text. I can't imagine trying to read in a circle. That'd be really hard. Okay, so symmetrical balance is when you have something that you can fold in half, and side 1 and side 2 are identical. So big A, they're identical, they're mirror images. That is passive. It's very easy viewing, but it's not very exciting viewing. Kind of boring, okay? The next one is asymmetrical. Asymmetrical balance requires more effort on the viewer's part because it throws in unexpected things and it's not a mirror image. It groups like or similar weighted things together to balance out the other item. So here when we're looking at our mirror image, we still have a large A, but it's inside a circle to kind of counteract the fact that that A is really, really small. It may not be balanced perfectly, but it's more balanced than the small A and the big A. So we combine lots of little things to give a similar visual weight to whatever we're trying to balance out. So it could be giving a large picture and then providing text on your page to balance that. Okay, contrast, and we're going to talk about contrast twice. So this first type of contrast has to do with changing something. We're throwing a different element in, something new, something unexpected. We're disrupting what we're expecting. So we were expecting a row of black A's here. Okay, our contrasting element is the small A that's here. Okay, does that give you a focal point? Does that lead your eye somewhere and tell you where to go? So think of contrast as pleasing difference. And how this applies to page design is if you have a page of all black text, think about how you could apply a different size of text, a different font, or possibly a different color to draw attention to something that was important. So it's not just a sea of little black letters for your students. Our students are very, very visual. They've been playing online since they were little. Again, speaking from my own experience, my kids teach me stuff about using my iPhone, about going to websites. They know all sorts of stuff. So our generation of learners right now is very, very visual, and they're used to the click and point and having stuff look exciting and drawing them in because they're used to using computers. I didn't grow up using a computer. I didn't use a computer until I graduated from college. I mean, that was 20-some years ago that I graduated from college. But I didn't have access to a smartphone. I didn't have a computer at my house when I was doing schoolwork. So we have a completely different generation of learner right now.
Color-wise for ADA,
yes.
Which ones would you stay away from?
Red and green have problems because of color blindness. Some of the lighter colors, and we'll talk about contrast in a minute, some of the lighter colors are very hard to see, and I have an example of that. Those websites that I showed you in the resources module, the ADA, there's somewhere in there, there's a link you can click to go to a checker, and it will check your font color and tell you if it's compliant or not. So I would stay away from really light pastels. The bigger the font gets, and the heavier the font is, the more you can get away with a lighter color. Does that make sense? Because it gets bigger and bolder. But unless you're going to do everything at 36-point font, you probably need to stay in the medium to darker range colors. So, and we'll talk more about color in a minute. Okay, so we just talked about contrast, and I mentioned a word, focal point. Well, there's an actual principle for that. It's emphasis. It creates a focal point. And here, we had a focal point before. Okay, that's still a focal point. All I've done is I've made my A an uppercase A. I've just changed more about it to draw more attention in. You will have different areas of emphasis on your page. If you have too many areas of emphasis that all scream the same amount of emphasis, your viewer won't know where to look. So if I had 4 big red A's here, you wouldn't know which one to look at first because they would all scream at you, look at me. That's visually confusing for students, and it makes them tired, and it makes them want to click away from the page if they can't figure it out. So how this comes to page design besides the color is like giving titles that are bigger, like making your headers larger so they know where sections are and can see, oh yeah, I need to read that, and then you can make the smaller. It's not that it's less important text, but they need to see what part of it they need to read first. It helps them identify the sections. Pretty much make it easier for them to do what you need them to do is what this is all about. All right, what this boils down to is another principle called harmony. And harmony is a state of agreement or rightness where everything feels like it goes together and it looks like it works together, and you don't get that feeling that you want to add or subtract anything else. That's how you know you've reached that point where, yeah, this is workable, where you have a balance of your function and your aesthetics. So harmony is a balance of 2 sub-principles called unity and variety. Unity gives us oneness and sameness. We need unity. If we don't have unity, we get visually confused. If we have too many different things, if you use 10 different colors on a page, the students don't understand the significance. Even though you think it makes it easier for them to see stuff, it actually is visually confusing. Okay, so we need to throw in a little bit of variety. That's that unexpectedness, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Variety gives us interest through absence of sameness. So it takes away some of the monotony of repeating that same black text over and over and over and over again. So this is the most important of all of your design principles. This is what you're striving for in your page design. It's something that has unity, that holds it together, and something that has a little bit of variety that gives it a spark of interest so that people want to look at it. And it has that balance of aesthetics and function. Okay, now we're going to talk about the elements. Those were all principles that we just talked about. Okay, so things we can actually physically manipulate. We can manipulate space. Okay, yeah, I know you're going, oh no, I can't do anything with space. But you can fill space or you can leave empty space, and that's how you physically manipulate that. So here we have one side that has positive filled space. There's lots of A's, it looks full. If you look at the other side, there's lots of big white negative space around it. Okay? Your students need negative space. Their eyes need to rest. You need to give them places to look away for a minute and then come back to what you need them to focus on. So if you just think the more the better on a page and just cram everything together, you're probably not going to get the result you want, and students might even complain to you that they don't understand what's on your page because it will be visually confusing for them. And I have an example of some pages that have a lot of white space on them, and we'll get to some of those in a minute. Okay, in page design we can talk about line. We have angled line, we have straight lines, and we have curved line. We don't use a lot of curved line in page design because it's really hard to do. If you are going to use angles or curves in your page design, that's fine, but reserve it as an accent because it's hard to read stuff that's on an angle if you have to read a lot of it. Okay, so this just shows a horizontal line, but there's vertical lines. Some text, like in PowerPoint, you can take and turn your text boxes sideways and you can have vertical text. If that does something for your presentation to help you communicate something important to your student, do it. If you're just doing it for the sake of doing it and don't know why you're doing it, I'd say maybe don't do it, because design, quality design is design with a purpose. Every little piece of the page has a reason for being the way that it is. And you can even look at my headers. I've manipulated my text a little bit so that, I've kept it pretty simple. I've only used 2 fonts throughout the whole thing. But this other font up here helps to communicate to you that that's the main concept for the page, and then the definitions given in the plainer font. So there's little things like that that you could manipulate. I could take that and turn it sideways. It would be a little harder to read, but I liked it up top. Okay, so just be careful with your angles and your curves. Okay, color. We've been kind of talking about color a lot because it's one we're familiar with. This shows kind of a kaleidoscope rainbow of colors. I would say choose no more than 3 to 5 colors to use throughout your course design and use them consistently throughout. If there's something important you want to communicate to students, like maybe every page has a page note on it that you want to give them an extra tip, make all those tips throughout the course the same color, the same, like if you're going to put them in a table or some type of a text box, make them all the same color. Your students will look for the rhythm of those text boxes throughout, and they'll be, hey, your tip was missing for this page. They notice that kind of stuff. So use color judiciously, use it for a reason. Do pay attention to the colors that you choose. As you can see here, the yellow's not so hot, right? Okay. And again, if you give somebody a rainbow page, you're kind of overusing color, and when you overuse it, it loses the emphasis that you want to create by using it. I get emails from my kid's school all the time, because it's, well, he's in middle school now, but the elementary school emails, every other word would be a different color of font, and then they would highlight it over in another color. I'm like, ah! It starts to look like big polka dots, and you just don't even want to read it, because it's just like, ugh. At least that's how I am. I'm very, very visual. Not everyone's as visual as I am, but I'm highly in tune to it. Okay, so that's the end of the principles and elements. I do have a few other things we're going to talk about, but what I want to point out here is that I've given you a step into the rules. Once you start knowing and learning and using the rules, and you'll start recognizing this stuff, you'll, oh yeah, that's what she was talking about. Okay, but I want to talk to you about creativity for a second. Now that you know the rules, break them. Do something different. Remember the Alyssa that was out of proportion? Okay, it was out of scale and it was out of proportion, but I still could have used that to communicate something to you. So it's okay that it was out of scale. It's okay that it was out of proportion. You can creatively break those rules to have design with a purpose, though. You can't just go around blah, 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 not knowing what you're doing. Okay, you do have to rein yourselves in a little bit. I've never asked anybody to get back in the box. I want you out of the box. Okay, do things different. Think about your page design more consciously than you have in the past. Okay, you might not be, I've never asked anybody to get back in the box. We might ask you to take a few steps back toward the box, just if you get out there too far. Okay, you can go wild with this design stuff. So do be conscientious with what you do, but be creative with it, and take what works for you and use it. Okay, a couple other things that relate specifically to page design. The first one is proximity. Proximity implies a relationship. Items that are close together look like they go together and they get a contextualized meaning from that. Okay, if this is an image and the title for the image and the text that goes with it, I know that this is a unit. If I look at the other side, yeah, there's a random title there. There's some text and there's a picture. What do I look at first? Does it actually go together? Am I supposed to do something else? I don't know. So group, like items, things that are supposed to go together, group them close together because that makes sense to us visually. Okay, contrast, and David asked about this a minute ago about talking about colors, and this is kind of what I was getting to. For those of you at the very far back of the room, what y'all seeing on this line? Anybody in the front of the room seeing anything on that line? Okay, I'm standing right next to it, and I can barely see it. Okay, so this is poor contrast. You can see even as it gets darker and darker and darker and darker, the yellow on white still is not very great contrast for us. Would you want to read a whole document on yellow and white? No. Would you want to read yellow font on black? Yeah, because we're used to that. That's why a lot of the construction signs are yellow and black, because that's a contrast that we can really readily recognize. But yellow and white, not so great. Okay, so here's our black and white contrast. Even here, you can see gray on white isn't really that much better. It is better, but really not that much. Not until you get down into the very dark gray and the black does that become something that you look at and go, oh yeah, I can easily read that. Even the big ones are harder to see the yellow against the black. So be careful and conscious with your color, and somewhere in those links you can go through the ADA site in there, and there's a place you can click and you can test your color, and it will tell you if it has enough contrast for readability. We are limited to colors in Canvas. Have you noticed there's not that many text colors in there? So you are limited a little bit to what's in the text editor in Canvas. Okay, text size for readability. I think I mentioned this in the last session. As I get older, my eyes get worse. I was whining to my mother that I had just gotten bifocals. I was like, oh, and I could tell when it went. I'm like, oh, dang. You know, some of you may have been through that already. I've had glasses since I was 6, so, you know, I'm kind of used to it. But I was whining, I had bifocals, and she patted me on the back and said, it's okay, honey, I have trifocals. I was like, oh, Mom, you're not helping. Okay, so our eyes as we age are not improving is the point that I'm getting to here. We do have young students, but I often have students that are older than myself. There's a principle of, or thinking about something in design, it's called Universal Design for Learning. Some of you may have heard about it. It's UDL. Okay. There's also universal design in interior design, you know, putting in a ramp instead of a stairwell, okay, because it's more usable for a larger group of people. So what I would say here is by default, just make your text a little bit bigger. The default in Canvas, I think, is 12-point font. It hurts my eyes to no end. I always go up to at least 14. There's no 16. 16 would probably be my preference. The next one up is 18. Just finished designing a whole course in 18-point font, and it's very clean. It's very easy to look at, but it's for ESL students, so it really needed that extra punch of having a bigger font. So I would say just by default, bump your font size up at least 1.
Can you change the default?
You know, I'm not sure. I haven't tried. It might be something that the admin can do at the admin level, but it wouldn't change it just for you. It would change it for everybody. And I also find in Canvas the color of their text against the color of their backgrounds, I find that not to be as much contrast as my old eyes would like. So when you increase the font size, it becomes easier to see. So think about that. Okay, from the back of the room, we got little teeny tiny baby A. We got great big A over here. So can you easily read this? This is looking like the eye doctor, isn't it? Can you read this? Can you read this? Can you read this? Can you read this? Okay, so the bigger the font, the easier it is to read. The darker the font, the easier it is to read. Could you do a dark font in a medium size? Yes. Can you do a light font in a medium size and have the same impact? No. Okay? The bigger your font gets, the lighter the color you can get away with using, although still please stay in the medium to dark range. All right, so before we dig into this next part, which is the interactive part where you guys are going to actually make an icon and put it into your page and learn some stuff and do some things, I want to show you some actual page designs and have you take the information that I just gave you and apply it to the design of those pages. So I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint real quick, and I need to find, okay, whoops, no, that's not the one I want. Sorry, I have a bunch of windows open. Okay, so, okay, I'm going to use our own class as an example here. So, and by ours, I mean the State Board's training class. When I very first started teaching our Canvas training class, the people that designed it, this is what it looked like. Okay? It's not bad. The content is solid, but for me, looking at that teeny tiny font, I was overwhelmed. What's missing on this page? White space. Okay, the font is really, really small. It just feels overwhelming to me. Okay, when I got my hands on it and began teaching the class, this is where I went with the home page. Okay, bigger font, little bit of a darker color to give it some contrast. I used margins to give it some white space so that my text doesn't run edge to edge because it gives your eye relief. Okay, so that's what the home page of this class looks like now. This, when I worked at Lake Washington, is the version of a home page I designed for it's the same class, it's all the state training materials, this is just a different home page. This is a series of images that I layered together in PowerPoint, saved it as one JPEG file, and then I linked it to the modules. So even though it says click start to start, this button is linked with everything that's here. And if you click that button, it will take you into the modules area. Okay, so you can really do something fun and exciting on your modules or for your homepage to get people in there. Here's another version of a homepage. This is an icon-driven homepage, and what this is, and these images are CC, the artist information is down here, and I've clicked that. The CC image conversation is a whole nother conversation, but please, if you're going to be sharing your course out, search, it's CC search, and you can find that in your computer. Just type it into a web browser. It's the Creative Commons search. You can search Flickr, and it will tell you, if you click, I think you right-click on the image, it will tell you what licensing is on it, and if it says it's shareable or remixable, and you just attribute it to the artist or the creator of the image, you can go ahead and use it. You just have to have their name with it so that you know where it comes from. Okay? So these are icons. I created these in PowerPoint. It's little pieces of larger artwork that I cut down just to the snippets that I wanted. And then I saved them as JPEGs. I shadowed them first because you can't do shadowing in Canvas. So I shadowed them and saved them as JPEGs. And then I uploaded them in Canvas. And let me open the editor for you here. They're in a grid. That's what gives them alignment, is the tables tool. It's this little tool right here. If you click on that, you can say how many rows and columns you want. Pre-think it though, because it's hard to go in and add rows and columns. Actually, Canvas won't let you unless you go into the HTML and edit those. I did learn how to do it, but I've never done it. I watched somebody do it. So I like to just pre-think and know how many squares I need before I start, and I just start with the grid that I need the size of. Okay, so that's kind of how this is constructed. This is actually just a little table that I put background color in. Okay.
And your grids, you're doing another set of borders as a part of the grid?
Another set of order?
The left and right.
Oh, okay.
Cells.
Okay, so when I very first did this, the Canvas tables tool was wonky. They had a bug in it, and it wouldn't center stuff. It wouldn't center the table on the page. So when I originally built this page, I built in my centering mechanism so that my table could span the whole width of the page. and I could still have my margins of white space. That's why I have extras on the side. I don't use that anymore on most of the other ones I do because they fixed the bug and it doesn't do that anymore. But even along the bottom, though, I've left myself a place if I want to build Module 4, Module 5, Module 6, and Module 7, and I just built it into the white space of my page. So it's there, it's waiting and ready for me if I want to add anything to it. Okay, let me cancel this. Again, these are linked to specific places, so if I click on Getting Started, it should take me to the top of my Getting Started, but I don't really have anything in my Getting Started, so if I did, though, it would take it there. The other thing, this is a different link. Instead of going just to the Modules tool, this one is linked to a document or something in the module, and it's going to skip the module page and go straight to where it needs to go to. So it was linked to an assignment, so it went straight to my assignment. Did you see how it skipped the modules view and went from the home page to the actual assignment? So it's just another way for you to navigate your students. Some people might find this helpful, some people might not find it helpful. It's, you know, use what works for you. Have you guys ever linked anything to send it somewhere else? Do you guys know how to do that? Because I can show you that real quick. It's really, really easy. You have to have your editor open, and all you do is highlight what you want to become your link. And I actually linked mine together, so if the student got anywhere even close to either the name or the image, it would go. Okay, and then I came over here, and here you can choose what you want to link it to. I could have gone to a quiz. Here's where you choose if you want it to go to a module. But as you saw, this one was linked to, I think it was linked to just that random assignment that was in there. Okay, so you click that, and then it links it to it, and you save it, and the next time you come back and click on that icon, it will take you to that spot. So that's a pretty cool thing to know how to do.
On one of the publisher things, it's an external URL that's got like table outlines, chapter outlines, and I could not figure out how to link using that same way to a page that I created that was just a URL link that opened up inside.
Okay, you put in your module a link to a URL?
It's a page that's a link that opens up inside Canvas.
Okay, so because I'm really visual, you're going to have to show it to me. So grab me after class, and I will look at it with you and see if I can figure it out. Okay, so let's see what else. Here's another one. I'm just showing you different variations of stuff so you can get inspired and think about things you could do. And they're all a little bit different. Some have more images, some have more text, some have no text. So this is for our Sloan cohort that's going through our Sloan training. This is the one I just finished. We just finished and released the cartridge on this yesterday. This is a whole series of images layered together in PowerPoint. This whole thing is saved as one image. If they click anywhere on this, it's going to go into modules. And here are my attributions down here. And I'm just going to show you one of the pages in here so you can see what the difference is when you see something in 18-point font versus that 12-point font. Let's go into this, and I'll just click through a couple of pages for you so you can see how the use of color and white space and different things. A lot easier to read than the 12-point. This is 18-point. We can, let's see. You can even do, it's Control plus on your computer, or Control minus if you want to make it bigger or smaller. Yeah?
Those color bars, or those, what are those tables?
Those are tables with rounded edges. Let me show you that real quick since we're on it. When you go to putting in your table values, after you've picked your columns, mine are all set to 98% right here. And what that does is it spans the page by giving it a percentage. If your student looks at it on a smartphone, an iPad, or a computer, it's always the right size for them. It shrinks it. You can do 100%, but for me, 100%, it's just a very slight, it's a visual thing for me. It's a nitpicky, stupid little designer thing in me. The balance of the margins isn't quite right for my eye. So 98% is my number. Make your number whatever you want it to be. Okay, and then you asked about the style of the table. It's under class. Okay, and you come down to, I think mine are, I think I have these set to be circle, is what these are set on. Okay, so you click that, and it will give you a table with that rounded edge. There's other versions. Rounded just barely rounds off the squareness of the corners. Polaroid does something a little bit different. I can't remember. I don't know all of these. I'm actually not an HTML expert. I know just enough to get myself in trouble and just enough to undo whatever I've done sometimes. And then on advanced, you can come here and select your colors. There's a color selector in here. So you can come in here. There's 3 different ways to look at the colors, and you can just click and pick whatever color you want the background. So that's how I got the color into it. If you want it to have borders, you come to frame and you say border, and then on rules, sorry, I'm looking not at you, I'm looking at the screen here, and you say all, and it will put the black grid lines around it. So if you need to create a table in Canvas, you can still give it the grid lines and everything. That actually wasn't part of our lesson, so I know I went over that fast. It wasn't really part of what we were going to talk about today. But so let me get off the editor for this page and click through and just show you a couple of pages. So the color scheme we decided to use was green and blue. Green on every single page. There are directions at the top of the page that tell the student. These are ESL students, remember, so everything's very, very simple. Directions to tell them what to do, and then the content is always here in the blue area, and then there's a green bar at the end of the page. They know when they get to the green bar that they can stop scrolling and they can click next because they've completed everything that's on that page. This is a link to an external site they're going to use to do some other activities. So our pages we do have some images in. Notice we have all of our CC licensing in. These are the inline Canvas recordings. So some of the pages are kind of long. They have multiple things. Some of them have integrity recordings. Others, they have links and things, other things for the students to do. But I find the amount of white space in this class to be refreshing. I like it. It's very simple to my eye, and it's very clean. Well, of course I like it. I'm a little biased. I helped design it. Shh. My secret's out. So, I mean, we even carried it through to the directions for the quizzes and different things. So, this is what I'm talking about, consistency in course design. Repeating the same rhythmic elements, the same colors, the same sizes, the same shapes, the same placement. Pictures are always the first thing, and then the text goes underneath it. Stay consistent. It makes it easier for your students to find stuff. All right, let's go into PowerPoint real quick. Can you guys all open PowerPoint on your computers? Do you guys have that? So if you have it, go ahead and open it, and I'm going to show you how to make yourself an icon and put it into your account. I think we went over our time. I don't know. Were we supposed to end at noon or 11:30? Okay. I think we're going to run over a little bit, so if you need to go, I will not be offended if you go. This presentation is always an hour and a half, and I thought I had an hour and a half, so I did not cut anything out. You will be able to come back and watch the recording, hopefully, and pick up this last interactive hands-on part. Thanks. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to try this. So let me know when you guys are ready to go and you have PowerPoint open. Okay, I'm not sure how fast your computers are. Okay, everybody's ready? Okay, so you can grab an image if you want to use an image. I'm just going to, just because it's faster, I'm going to say insert, and I'm going to use a shape. Okay, so I'm just going to pick a shape. I'll do a square, I guess. Okay. So I'm going to build myself a shape. Have you guys all done this in PowerPoint before? Okay. All right. So we are going to do something different with it that you may not have done before. I don't like my color here. I have nothing against blue, but purple is my favorite color. So I'm going to fill my shape with a different color. I'm going to give purple. I'm going to also remove my outline because I don't want a blue outline. And then the one fancy thing to it I'll do is I'll come up to my drawing tools and I'll pick shadowing because I like shadowing. I like to have the element of shadowing with it because it pops the image out from the page a little bit. I find it to be pleasing, but if you don't mind flat on flat, just, you know, no shadow, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, is it shadowing it? Doesn't look like it gave me very much of a shadow. Can't see it on my screen. All right, well, I guess my shadowing's not working, so we'll just go with purple square. All right, so from here, and you can do this with an image, or you can do it with a shape. So let's say you have an image you want to use, but you want it to be a circle. You build a circle shape and fill it with the image that you want it filled with, and now you have an image that is a circle shape. Make sense? Okay, so there's a reason why we're doing this step in PowerPoint. Okay, then we're going to come here, we're going to right click on it, okay, and we're going to do Save as Picture. And this is the simplest demonstration of it because we're just using a purple shape. And I'm going to save it somewhere to my computer. I'm going to put this, I think, just on the desktop so it's easier to find. I prefer JPEGs, don't ask me why, I just do. So I'm going to change that to JPEG, and I'm going to say purple circle. I like to give descriptive titles. It makes things easier to find later. Okay, so now I've saved it as an image. It's no longer just this little thing, this shape in PowerPoint. It's an actual image that I can take and do something with. Okay, now, do you all have a practice classroom somewhere that you can flip to? Find a page or somewhere in something that's not going to mess up what you're working on for the quarter. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be an old classroom if you've taught in Canvas before. All you need is a page that you can open with the editor open. Okay? And you guys are students in my class, so there's not a place in there for you to build a page and do that. At least I don't have it set up to do that anyways. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go back here because it's my cleanest page that has the least amount of stuff on it. And I'm going to say Edit Page. I'm going to open my editor. I'm going to come down below here. Okay. And I am going to go to Images, the Images tab. And I want to grab a new picture. So I'm going to do Upload a New Image. Now I get to choose it or browse my computer for it. This is just like uploading a document. It's just an image instead. I know I put it on my desktop. I know it's called Purple Circle, so hopefully, there we are. Okay, I'm going to grab that. I've chosen my file. I'm going to say Open, and now I'm going to upload it into Canvas. Okay, I'm going to say Upload, and it should pop my purple square in there. Okay, so there's my purple square. From here, you can usually just grab it the same way you do in Word and manipulate the size. Okay, now if I wanted to look at what it was and didn't want to grab it like that to manipulate it, I can come into Switch Views. Have you guys ever done Switch Views to get into the HTML? This is the behind-the-scenes code for the page. This visually is gross. It hurts my eyes and it hurts my brain. But there's fun stuff you can do in here. So I come here anyways and I do it. So I'm looking for my image, and I know I added it between my table and between my text at the bottom that linked to the artist's name, so I know approximately where I need to go. So here is my image, I think. Oh, was that it? No, sorry, here's my image. Sometimes you gotta look around in here. All the code in HTML has beginning tags and ending tags. I'm reading this book right now, HTML for Dummies. That's me. I'm an HTML dummy, and I will proudly admit it. I'm on page 45. I've learned some really good stuff. I guess what I want to communicate about HTML is you don't need to be afraid of it. It seems scary, but there's some little tricks and things you can learn to do that can make your life easier. So I can look right here, and I can see this is my purple circle. It's kind of hard to see. Okay. Sometimes I take my text out and I copy it to a page where I can enlarge the font and I can see it better. But that's what we were looking for, purple circle. The width right now is set at 138. That's in pixels right now. By height, 138 by 160. That is not a perfect square, is it? Okay, so if I wanted, I can come here and edit this. I changed the 138 to 160. Cross our fingers. When we go back to the page, looks more squarish to me. Not sure if it made the change or not. Canvas makes me grumpy a little bit in that it doesn't accept all the HTML code that there is to accept. It actually strips some stuff out. So if you're trying to do something and it's not working and it's not saving into the page, it's because it's a default in Canvas that's taking it out. Jackie can explain more to you about that. There is an actual handout that she has from Canvas that lists the HTML tags and things that are acceptable in Canvas. If you're interested in learning about that, you can contact her for more stuff on that, because we're not going to get into that today. Let me show you my table real quick. You know how we had it set to 98%? Here's my 98%. I can set my image to a percentage also. So if I wanted to come down here, if I want to say 98% right here, it should fill my square to be the size, the full size of my screen. It should change that. And if you take out the height, and I think you put a backslash there, if you don't specify the height, the percentage will drive, the width percentage will drive the height percentage. So it should automatically do what you need it to do. We'll check it and see. Oh my goodness sakes. We have a gigantic purple square now, which spans our whole page. So that's kind of how you manipulate that. Let me show you one other cool thing. I'm not going to save this because this is an actual page that I use for demoing stuff. You would save your changes and leave that there or link it to whatever you wanted it to go to. I'm going to cancel this. Have you guys ever clicked on page history? Okay, so let me click on page history. These are all my revisions. I am a prolific reviser, as you can tell. If I want to revert back to a previous version of this, I can. Let me find, let's see, where's my biggest jump? Let me see if it's here. Okay, different images, right? Okay, this is, I had to take these images down because they're not CC. So I had to change them, but I'm just showing you what I had started with because I didn't search Creative Commons open licensed images when I started doing this. So if I want to, I can say go to the latest version, which is the version we saw, or I can say roll back to this version. So if I wanted to go back to this page without rebuilding the entire thing, I can click this right here and it will restore that home page to my last edit of whatever this is. Or I can go back to my revision history. This is kind of a cool thing to know because if you're messing around with your page design and you do something that you don't like and you had recently saved it and you can't figure out how to undo it, you can go back and grab the page before it and kind of start over. I'm going to go back to my current version. Let's see, there was one other thing I was going to mention about editing. It slipped out of my brain. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. So these are your editing tools up here. Works a lot like a word processor, not super robust, doesn't have a lot of stuff that you can do with it. See this little one right here that looks like an eraser? If you ever get any coding in there, any formatting that you're just like, oh, this is not what I wanted, it's not working, you can highlight that text and click that little erase or scrub button and it will take all of the code out and you can start over. It has saved me so many times. So it's a good way to undo something you've done. You guys know Control-Z? You can do Control-Z to undo things. Like if I change this to be, let's make it a different color. We'll do green so you can see it. Okay. Oh, no, green is not so you can see it. All right, let's do red. Okay, so I just changed that to, why is it not changing? Oh, it's because it's a link. That's why. Canvas likes to auto color stuff, especially links. But at any rate, if I did that and I didn't like it, I could do Control-Z over on my keyboard and it automatically undoes it and sticks it back to what it was. So I won't save it. I don't know why it's not working in here, but you can do that Control-Z on any screen. It's not just Canvas. You can do it anywhere. It's like using a back button, but there's no back button built in here. So having that little trick is really good because it's another great way to undo something if you accidentally mess something up. These are just random extra side things. Here, they've recently upgraded how to search for and find images. You can put a URL into an image. For text readers, you should give a description of the image here so that when the text reader, if you have a student who's reading your page with a text reader, goes over that image, it will give them a description like man sitting at computer or, you know, girl with balloon or whatever it is. Okay, you can search Canvas for images. So anything you already have uploaded in Canvas, you can search for in here. My images, see I've done this before. I have my purple circle from today, and I had a purple circle from another one, and here's my purple square. Or remember I told you could go to Flickr and do Creative Commons search. You can actually do that. You can search Flickr here. You just put in what you're looking for and click on the search, and it will take you there and find an image. I don't tend to put my images in this way. I will go straight to Flickr, get them, save them as JPEGs, do what I want to do with them and manipulate them in PowerPoint if I want to crop them or do anything like that, because Canvas doesn't have any of those features. So I do all of that somewhere else. And I use PowerPoint because it's what I know. Like I said, I don't know any Photoshop, anything like that. And you've seen some of the pages I've worked on. So let's see. Showed you. Oh, I've lost it. Okay. This one, if we go back to the home page, just let me show you the deconstruction of this, because this is all loaded as one image. I do have the PowerPoint file, so here's where I started. I just started using the editing tools in PowerPoint to fade edges and to make things transparent. These are just different images I was using, different versions. Here's the logo. I was manipulating some stuff with that. And now we start to get into some final versions of things. They made me take my light bulb out. I was really very sad. I liked the light bulb. And then I just keep track. This is PowerPoint, yeah. Yeah. And so I keep my slides in order so that I know the last thing I worked on is what the last thing I finished with, because I don't take the time to go back and label. So this is my last final finished, finished thing. And then I did a screen save of this. So I usually pop it up to presentation view, and I use, I think it's Alt Print Screen to grab the screenshot. Yes, there's other things you can use like Jing and Snagit and all sorts of things. Use what works for you. Alt Print Screen works for me on every single computer. I don't have to have anything installed. I don't have to sign in anywhere. I grab it. You can throw it into PowerPoint as your big print screen, and you can crop it right there. You crop it down. You right-click it and save as to your computer, just like we did with the icon that we just created, like my purple square. And that's how I made the JPEG for this. And then on my last page, these are all my image attributions. These all came from Flickr Creative Commons. And then, Jackie, were you in here when I showed the page that went with? So here's the course homepage for the project idea master. And this is what that PowerPoint stuff was that we were just looking at. And since I've mentioned it several times, let me take you to CC Search. Okay, so sometimes I have a hard time finding it. It's on my, okay, so this is it. It's search.creativecommons.org. You guys are getting the most complete lesson of any of the presentations I've done for this, because I've just recently learned how to do the Creative Commons search myself. So it's search.creativecommons.org. Okay, so it comes to this screen. I have this bookmarked in my computer. I can just type in whatever I'm looking for. It's a little harder to search for images in here because you're limited to pictures that regular people have taken that they're willing to share. So sometimes it takes a little longer to find stuff than just going to Google and grabbing it. But you don't really have the right just to take anything you want from Google Images and use it and then share it out. If you're just using it for your own personal reasons and for education, and you're only just showing it for your classroom for that quarter or that presentation, that's completely different than taking a big class and sharing it out statewide. So my project idea classroom, sharing it out statewide, everything in it has to be shareable. Jackie?
So what about Microsoft, like all of the images on Microsoft? Those are, even though they put them out there free, they're not shareable?
They are not shareable.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually, that was one of the problems we had with this big project, is we had teachers that had gone to Microsoft Images and researched and gotten clip art and different things, and none of it was shareable. It's all licensed by Microsoft for them, and it's not it's copyright protected. It's not. Yeah. Okay. So I'm typing in the word happy. I am going to do a Flickr search. You could do a clip art search. If I do a clip art search, this is open, all open clip art that you can use. You're probably going to get a bunch of smiley faces and stuff, but it's all open. You don't have to worry about that. So if you need clip art, come here to the clip art library. I'm going to do a Flickr search, and it's going to bring me up a page that looks similar to a Google search. And I have all these different images to choose from, and trust me, there's a lot of them. So let's just pick a random one and see. We'll just do one at the top of the page. I'm going to click on this and open it. Okay, so here I am. And then I'm going to come here. I'm going to right-click it. And this says this photo has some rights reserved. So I'm going to click this link and check the licensing. Okay, so now it's going to tell me for this image, the person who is sharing this image says it's okay to share, to copy, distribute, and transmit the work. Okay, that's good. It's okay to remix, to adapt the work, to make commercial use of the work. Okay, we're not commercial use because we're education, but that could be an important distinction. Now, so they say, yes, you can do that, but under the following conditions. You must attribute the work however the person says. It's usually just giving them a link to that person or to their name or whatever. Okay, so this is one that I could use. If I got one that said all rights reserved, can't use that one. Okay, so we got lucky. Our first search, we got one that was able to be used. And I just clicked on it to open it. If you're going to search a ton of images, instead of clicking on it to open it in the same tab, right-click it and open it in a separate tab so you don't have to wait for the search window to repopulate each time. So let's check this one and see what happens. Okay. Happy children, I'm going to right-click them. Some rights reserved. So we're getting pretty lucky here. Okay, so share and remix is okay, but we must attribute the artist. So you know how I kept saying these are my attributions? That's what we're talking about. You say image by, you give the person's name, and then you say comma CC0-BY 2.0 is what all my images fell under for this project. And then you make their name a link. You insert a hyperlink on their name, and that you paste that whole thing in underneath the image. Let's this one doesn't have one because, I mean, it has the attributions for the individual artists, but it's open. I created it. I'm saying share it, go out to the world. It's fine. Let me find you a page that has an image on it so we can look at the attribution. Let's see. I'm just picking a random page. I'm not sure if this page will have what we need on it or not. Okay, so here's the image, and right under here, I did make this little teeny tiny text because we were trying to keep the pages very open and simple and clean. So I've done my job. I've attributed it. It's there, but it's not an emphasized part of the page. If I'd made it great big text, what's my student going to read? The text. Is that what I'm trying to communicate to them, is who made this image? No. I want them to read about how a person buys a computer. So use emphasis, varying levels of emphasis to communicate importance. It's important that it's here, but it's not part of the lesson, so it has to be the smallest, most discreet thing on the page. And I made mine even more discreet on the home page. I changed the color and made them all light gray so there's barely any contrast to it, but it is there if you want to look, and the links are live. If you want to click on them, you can. So I know we kind of got off into a whole bunch of other fun stuff. I probably could talk about this for years. I'd love to answer questions for you if you have questions about some specific things. Please feel free to ask me, but we are actually officially over and done. I can hang out for a few minutes. So I don't know if there's anything I forgot to tell you. I'll probably remember like at 2 a.m. But thanks for coming. I'll post up the recordings. You can come back and watch it again if you need to. I hope you can take something out of this. Don't try to take everything all in one fell swoop. Might overwhelm your brains. I've been on information overload for the last couple weeks, so I understand how it feels to get too much unfamiliar stuff thrown at you all at one time. But I thank you so much for coming and spending your time with me, and I'm going to end our recording now.